Ladies and gentlemen, all the European Community passports, just put into one.
Happy 12th night and happy Mardi Gras to all of you.
Le groupe Jeanne déclare le carnaval a commencé. Vive la France, vive Mardi Gras, vive Jeanne, vive la Queen.
I cannot speak French at all, so I'm going to massacre this. So just be ready. I even went to France, stayed there 2 weeks, and still can't speak. But I can engrave. So, engraved inside of this bracelet that symbolized the unity that the three of us have, it says, 3 hearts united in Joan.
Hello everybody, it's Bea. Today I'm with the crew of Joan of Arc, and yesterday it was the big parade of the crew of Joan of Arc. A lot of people in the street. Everything was cool. The mood was cool. So Amy, you are the captain, right?
I'm the founder of the crew. I was the captain until recently, and I have my co-captains here. So I was the founder in 2008.
Yeah.
Decided to create a then small procession that told Joan of Arc's story on her birthday. There are some celebrations in New Orleans on 12th night, but it's never been a huge public event. There's private events or very small crews and political moments, like the mayor has a way to bring in 12th night, but there hadn't been too many other inclusive events. So this seemed like a great timing because Joan of Arc's birthday is on 12th night. So our first procession in 2009, January 6, 2009, was about 50 people, volunteers, all of them. One guy with the drum, one theatrical group that sang in French from a play that they had done, and then Joans of every age to represent Joan of Arc. And so the story of her birth to her death, and the statue in the quarter was also represented. And it's grown 10 times literally in size, but the story still remains. It's the story of her life.
But do you think before that, New Orleans people knew Joan of Arc, or now they have a better idea with this celebration and this moment?
I think a lot of people knew who she was. They didn't know her whole story, and they certainly didn't know her birthday was January 6th. We even met people from Orléans who had been here for a while, and they wondered why we were doing it on that day, because they know May 8th or May 31st, or May 30th rather. And so people even remarked that they didn't know who that statue was. They knew that it was somebody in the French Quarter. They thought maybe it was a war hero. They didn't even realize it was Joan of Arc. I was on a radio interview in one of the first years, and the woman thought that the Joan of Arc statue was in Jackson Square. So I don't think there was a lot of knowledge. Although then you talk to people who've lived here much longer, who are from here, they can remember when the statue was by the river and it moved. So they can remember that it was a gift to the city, but more of the newer generation certainly didn't.
And did you know that in Orléans there is a statue of Joan of Arc, and she was rebuilt by the money coming from New Orleans?
I didn't know that until we visited Orléans, and you showed us the plaque. It isn't discussed here. It isn't there. It would be great if we had a plaque at our statue that explained that, or even had a photo of your statue. I don't think there's an understanding of that relationship.
So this beautiful city of New Orleans is really connected with the French roots. we have a lot of presence of French references here, the name of the streets. Some people know words in French, so for French people that's amazing, because when they come they see some people know some French. So, but you're a part of this work because you recreate a moment of French history, and this is really official because I heard that you are officially in a moment with the French people. Can you explain that?
Sure. From about the fourth or so year of the parade, we started to hear from Orléans, France. Actually, Laurent, who is the head of their sister city association, had found out about our parade and noted that he was following what we were doing and could we have a relationship. So slowly but surely, another 5 years or so, it made its way up to the city of Orléans, and they started to talk with our city about developing an actual sister city association. But before that, we had been in correspondence, like I said, for a while with the citizens of Orléans who appreciated our parade. We had other members who had been to the Fêtes de Jeanne, and we were certainly aware of it. The student contest is based on the student contest in France. So I had seen YouTube videos about the fête and about Jeanne d'Arc. Years ago when I lived in San Francisco, there's a hotel that has photos of all the Jeanne d'Arcs from Orléans. So I had always known that that occurred there, but it wasn't until I created the parade that it seemed, especially in New Orleans, where tying in with the youth and the high schools here really makes a huge difference. So we started to have the maid contest that is based on the Orléans maid, and then finally we got more involved with the French schools. So we have not a lot, but we have a handful of very strong and acclaimed French immersion schools here. And so there was a meeting that you came to at the Alliance Française that a friend of mine whose daughter attends École Bilingue asked that we try to work more with the schools. So we met with heads of the schools. At that time, or around that time, we had our king was the assistant principal of one of the French schools. So it just started to all come together the more connections we made with the French community. But having the French immersion schools was a big coup, and they came forward and made many of their own costumes under Antoinette's guidance, and they are now the start of the parade. All the children who represent Domani are from local French immersion schools.
Oh, yeah.
So in terms of more the politics, or in terms of who else we have representing the French community in our parade and how we work with the French community, the Consul General of France has always had a representative come to see the parade, and quite honestly, the first couple of years, they wondered what we were doing, because the Joan of Arc statue in Paris is not necessarily associated with frivolity and parties. So the first 2 years, they were observant, and then by the time I started the maid contest, they wanted to get involved with that, so they became the person who did the final interview in French, the cultural attaché. And every time there was a new consul, that got passed along. And Priscilla Lawrence, the director of the Historic New Orleans Collection, had already been hosting our royalty toast. But when the new consul, Gregor Trumel, came in, she invited Gregor and I and said that she would like the consulate to do the honors, because she had always had someone on staff who spoke French, but she thought it would make more sense if it was the consulate. So thanks to her, we had the consulate, and the consulate, whomever we've had 3 consul generals since the parade started, and the most recent 2, Gregor and Vincent, are extremely supportive. So the consulate general has been a wonderful partner and supporter, and we held our royalty announcement party there one year. They've been very supportive of everything we've done. They've come to our salon and other events that we do. And alongside with that, now that has become a civic event. So the parade has this civic beginning where we have the Consulate General of France in New Orleans, our historic New Orleans collection, and then a representative from the city of New Orleans. And of course, the very special year of the sister city in 2018, we had the mayor of Orléans there too. So there's a civic portion, and then when we get to the cathedral, that's our religious portion, and then at the end, it's really for the full community. But we really start with that strong connection to France at the beginning of the parade because all of our characters in the royalty are representing French characters, so we feel like we owe it to them. Yeah. And we wouldn't have this parade probably if I hadn't seen. We would have had a parade, but seeing the style that you do the parade and the way that the parade in Orléans is raised to this high level of, the governmental level and the civic level, I think is really inspiring to us. So having our French consul is very important. Bonjour, I'm Amy Kirk Dubois. I am the inventor, founder of Joan of Arc Parade, and it is under an umbrella organization, the Joan of Arc Project. We first walked in 2009. We also hold a salon and have other events throughout the year in honor of Joan of Arc and to teach people about her amazing life and our French connections. It's a city of rich history, but it's also a city that welcomes new ideas. People love Joan of Arc and people love new things in New Orleans. So you can start a parade here and everyone will join in and take on a new tradition here. And I've never lived in a place that is both so rich in history, but also so welcoming to new ideas and new people.
So Amanda, you are the co-captain, and during all the year there is a social events and a lot of meeting to prepare the parade of yesterday, right?
Yes.
Can you explain me how it works and how you do to have volunteers and create event in the event?
Sure. So we work all year to get ready for the parade, and one of the things that's really neat about the parade and about many of the parades in New Orleans, especially the smaller ones, is that it's not the work of just us. We are the executive committee, or they call us the A-team, but we pour in many hours. But to make it possible, it's really a lot of other different people's ideas and volunteer time that comes together. So we're really all volunteer. The entire parade is pretty much produced by volunteers. We have a few paid musicians and a few paid, like the trash collection and such. So we have a few things like that are paid, but for the most part, everyone is volunteering their time. And that time and their talent. So most people are either choosing or making their own costume. So the costumes, even if they do a commercial costume, the costumes are put together usually by the individuals. So they choose who they're going to be. They choose what they're going to make it look like. They make their own choices about what kinds of throws they're going to have. So the props. Yeah. So all those things are ideas from members. So we still have lots of ideas.
Just a few. We have a few, like every day.
But I kind of feel like, the first few years that I was getting very involved with the crew, I had specific ideas that I wanted to execute. Yeah. So Amy, at one New Year's Day workshop, Amy said, I always wanted to have something really big to represent the voices. And then I thought, what could I do to make something big to represent the voices? Note, this is only 5 days before the parade. And I came up with the St. Michael concept. And then the next year I said, I would like to build a St. Catherine and a St. Margaret if I could get a member who would be interested in wearing that costume, playing that character, and funding those costumes. Yeah. So for a few years, the birthday cake, and there were a bunch of things like that I was carrying out my own ideas, and others in the parade have done that too, where they have their own idea and then they take the initiative on making that idea come together and become a reality. But then I started to think, I'm kind of out of ideas. Like at this time of year, sometimes I think, I'm out of ideas. But, by the time the parade comes around, there are always ideas because the members come together. And I see that one of the key things that we do that makes our parade very strong and very artistically cohesive is that we really work on educating our members. And our members are are pretty smart people, and they're pretty interested in Joan of Arc, so we got a lot of history buffs. So everybody has a different angle for getting excited about Joan's story. So they're smart, motivated, and intellectually curious people, but we give them a lot to pull that together. So one thing we do is we host a Salon Conference every year. We bring in speakers, and that is a kind of a key point that allows people to take the discussion to a different level, a deeper level. We have a lot of people who do a lot of reading about it. We did the Joan of Arc library project, so we invited crew members to donate books, because I looked at my own bookshelf and I thought, well, I got a lot of books about Joan here that I've already read, so I could put those in the library and make that available to a wider audience. So we invited other crew members to donate, and we worked with the library to beef up their Joan collections, and it's all on our website together with a lot of free resources and video clips and downloadable movies and stuff like that. So those kinds of things really encourage our members to get their hands dirty, really thinking about the concept. And if you talk to any of our members about what they're wearing, how they came up with that, and the throws they're giving out, you will be amazed at the depth of symbolism that often goes right over the head of the average parade goer. So I was just thinking this morning, I was just saying to my mom, my parents are active crew members too, I was just saying to my mom this morning that in so many of our New Orleans parades, you have kind of 3 levels of communication going on. You have people choose what they're going to wear and what they're going to give out, and some of that has a meaning that's only known to the person. So they put a lot into, this symbolizes this, and I chose this color because it represents this. And a lot of that, very few other people may ever even understand the depth of the symbolism that went into that. And then there's a second audience of your fellow crew members that are really pretty interested, and that you have time to chat with and tell them about, this is why I chose this, and I researched this, and it came from this area, the Burgundian region, or all these kinds of things. So, and then the third tier of the audience is the people who are actually going to see the parade. And they're really only going to get the tip of the iceberg.
So I saw that in the parade you have some elements coming from the history of Joan of Arc, very precise with some details, as the Cathedral of Orléans, the Cathedral Sainte-Croix. Can you explain us why you do that, and why your member like to have some details of this history and recreate that?
I would say a lot of the ideas in our parade come from people who are downright obsessed with Joan and Joan's history. So our members do a lot of reading about Joan, studying about Joan, talking about Joan, and they come at it from different angles. So we got a lot of history buffs, and people just get really into it, and that's where these ideas come from. It's such a fascinating story. It's loaded with rich ideas. So people come up with concepts that relate to what they've been reading. So for example, you were mentioning the cathedral prop. So the cathedral prop is the Notre Dame de Paris, because that was where her second trial, where she was declared innocent. And then those rose windows include Orléans. So there's a rose window from the Cathedral of Orléans and from Notre Dame and Chartres, because those were 3 of the regions where they collected testimony in the second trial. So the people who came up with those ideas have been really super obsessed with the second trial to clear her name. And so they have done tons of reading about that, and there's so much juicy stuff in that story that it's almost like they get so excited about the story and the history that then they want to make something to convey a piece of that to the audience. I'm Amanda Helm. I'm a co-captain of the Krewe de Jeanne d'Arc, and I've been with the Krewe since the beginning. I actually have been with the Krewe longer than I have lived in New Orleans. So I discovered the Krewe when I was bringing work groups down, volunteering in the Katrina recovery here, and I discovered Amy's post about the very first Joan of Arc parade as a cool thing to do with my volunteers, and I discovered that we could march free in the Joan of Arc parade. It wasn't even a club the first year, it was just a free event, and I thought that would be perfect. And I have to confess that that very first year, I was pretty fuzzy on who Joan of Arc even was, so I looked Joan of Arc up in the Wikipedia.
So Antoinette, you are co-captain. My question is, I saw there is a lot of little gifts, jewelries, little things you give to the people during the parade. How it works? You create it by yourself? Is it the member? How you choose the idea? That's beautiful. I have some with me. It's little things like that, or jewelries. So this is cute. It's beautiful, and children love it. Can you explain?
Sure. Well, we come from a history here with Carnival, and the Mardi Gras historians have shown us that one of the things that they did originally in the Mardi Gras tradition was to give out gifts from the parade goers, from the parade people to the parade goers, to sort of be a gift to represent sort of the 12th night, the largesse from the wealthy to the peons in the street. So we thought that, well, that's not so great, but we like the part of giving gifts, and it's 12th night, which is Epiphany, which is traditionally the night in the Catholic Church that the three kings brought the gifts. And so these two history pieces came together for us at the very beginning, and one way to do that was for each member to contribute something. The very first parade, we actually had people giving out rosemary for remembrance, wrapped in ribbon. There were birthday cards, birthday candles, and of course king cake, and a few other things. And after the first couple years where it was pretty much a free-for-all, we realized that we wanted to create a way to have a revenue stream for the crew to support things like permitting and paying the city for trash pickup and all of those things. And since we are self-funded and not involved with the city funding, we created this as a method to pay for it. And so we got together as a group of people, basically it was really the three of us, and sat down and said, what ideas did we have of things that we could make to give? And along the way, we've come up with a lot of things. As Amanda pointed out, we take ideas from our membership. Amanda pointed out that the playing card deck, as we know it today, was created in Joan's time period with characters in the original deck that are Joan of Arc, and then it wasn't La Hire and the Bastard of Orléans. Yeah. These were characters on the original deck. So we have a playing card set, and originally they were much larger, and they were big cards that handed out. And so we as a group made those, Amanda is our graphic designer as well, and created those and gave them out as sets to collect. So you had a little collector item. But we also found that our parade is family friendly, so it's a lot of children. And we wanted to have things that children would appreciate. And while a card is great for an adult, it's not as much for a kid. They want toys. So one of our members, Rebecca Sell, created a doll, I think in our third year or so. And it was Joan as a shepherdess, and I helped her with the design, and she gave those out, and people really liked them, and they asked, are we going to do a doll next year? So that's how we started our doll. So we've been doing dolls for 8 years. I designed the doll, and we create a limited edition of 100 as a group. So we make the bodies, we farm them out to people to stuff it. And this year is the first year the dolls are no waste. So we got recycled denim donated from freshly.com, and they gave us the denim that we used to stuff the felt horses and the dolls, and all of the materials that we used were recycled. We bought new material for some of it and then recycled all the pieces, and as a group put those together and gave them out. And they come with a card that's custom designed to go with it as well, so that not only do the kids get the doll, but they get a little history too. And the felt horses came about a few years ago. We had a member who had created a little horse, and we liked it, so we designed a prancing war horse to match Joan's horse. And we did a little research. As was pointed out, we do a lot of research for stuff. So the horse is actually a cartoon version of a French battle horse. So it actually has the neck arch and all those pieces. So a lot of these pieces of jewelry that you got, particularly the ones you got, our individual members make things that have symbolism for them, like the crown or the icons that are very similar to the church icons. This was from one of our members as well. And then we have a group of about 17 different things now that we sell, that we make all year long in what we call crafting in community. So we get together once a month as a group and we craft together. And it's a great time for socialization. So we get to know new members. Things flow really quickly, and we all eat together, so it's a communal meal as well. And that, when the Sister City group came from Orléans, they came for one of those days, and we gave out the throws that they made in the parade that following year.
Oh.
So that was really nice. A nice touch.
Yeah, yeah.
I am Antoinette D. Terrace. I'm the co-captain of the Krewe de Jeanne d'Arc. I am part of the A-team and an artist in New Orleans. I've been in New Orleans since before Katrina, and my family was here in the 50s. So for me, it was a homecoming to a place of artists that I've heard about for all my life and visited as a child. It was exciting to come and be a part of the Joan of Arc parade from the very first year, and it's been an inspiration to meet all of the other artists and creative people that are part of the crew. Joan of Arc means so much to me. She's such an inspiring woman, and it's a person that we need as an inspiration in today's world.
So in your parade, the principal character is Joan of Arc, sure, and each year you chose a young girl to be Joan of Arc, as in France, in the parade of Orléans. How it works to choose this young girl, and I saw that the girl chosen is very involved in the process, and she's very proud, and so how it works?
You want to talk about the application?
Sure. So we open a competition to young women between the ages of 16 and 19 in the New Orleans area. So they need to be local, they need to speak French, be studying French, or be a speaker of French already, and they need to be demonstrating leadership. So they submit an essay. A couple of essays, actually. They write one essay about what Joan means to them, and they write another essay, what Joan means to them and what Joan means to the community. And they write another essay in which they explain a leadership experience that they grew from. So it's not just a resume of their activities, but it's them discussing how they grew in leadership through a specific experience. And they have letter of recommendation. And so all of those applications come together, and they go to a selection committee. The selection committee narrows it down to 3, and then the top 3 candidates do an interview, phone interview in French with the French consul's office.
Okay, and you have a lot of girls who want to apply to be Joan of Arc each year, or it's...
Well, because they have to speak French, then that limits the application pool to those who are studying French. Yeah. And it's a somewhat involved application, so we really have a pretty a small but very qualified set of applicants each year, so it's really a hard choice each year.
Oh, wow. So thank you very much for all this information. Now we know a lot of things about Joan of Arc and the parade in New Orleans. That's what the nice moments. We had a great time with you and with the crew, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.